Morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're zooming in from. Welcome to a very interesting and undoubtedly enlightening conversation about blockchain. We have one of the world's experts about the topic, and so we're really pleased and honored to have Shamsh Hadi of ZorroSign, very well experienced and very knowledgeable about the topic. And what he's going to be doing today for us is taking us through the basics of blockchain from the standpoint of what are some of the applications, and then we'll be talking a little bit about some of the applications that he, and specifically now, is part of. My name is Doug Brunke. I'm the founder and CEO of Global Chamber. The purpose of these conversations are to give you the information that you need to identify new markets, new opportunities, new clients, new resources, whatever it takes for you to grow around the world. We're consistently and every day thinking about you, our members, and how we can help. So thank you for taking the time today to listen in on a really great topic, and I'm sure you're going to really enjoy meeting Shamsh as well. Shamsh Hadi is the co-founder, and he's the chief executive officer of ZorroSign. He's zooming in from Dubai today. He probably will share some announcements about kind of how his company is changing and structuring, and definitely a global company involved with business all around the world. Shamsh, thank you so much for sharing today. We look forward to hearing more.
Thank you, Doug, and thank you to the Global Chamber. First of all, before I start off, I want to wish you good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and my best wishes and prayers for everyone's health and safety, for all you and all your near and dear ones. Today I'll be speaking about blockchain, its uses, and a little bit about ZorroSign. I'm going to start sharing my screen. I have a quick presentation for you. But I generally like a lot of questions. So I have left it very brief. I have left it very high level because you definitely can't talk about blockchain or teach blockchain or share our wealth of knowledge that we've captured in an hour. So I will kick it off, and I'm happy to answer questions. So please keep those coming. So we're going to go over three things today. So in the overview, we're going to talk a little bit about the history of blockchain. This is one of the areas where I feel that whenever we get into a conversation in blockchain, it's always about the details of, what is blockchain. I thought we should change that up today. I rarely come across conversations where they, tell us how did it start up. And different things in that area. So I'm going to give you a chronology of that. Uses of blockchain, very high level, but we'll do that. And then I'll talk to you about ZorroSign. So as far as I go back, I've kept it from the last decade. But from my research, blockchain started popping up in the late 70s. But for argument's sakes, we're going to start off the history of blockchain in around the early 90s when we started seeing secured chains of blocks kept in a cryptographic manner. And then we move into about 1998 when we start seeing decentralized digital currency. So this is when we started seeing a lot of transactions, but obviously not as much as what we have here. But you can see it's almost back 20 years, so it's quite a while. Blockchain, the concept, and with the terminology blockchain, the way that it has been marketed to us today, sold to us today, basically came around to the industry, to the market in about 2008, and then we heard about Bitcoin in 2009. Those are the early adopters, the ones that really got in early. And then it became mainstream in 2014. This is just about a year before ZorroSign was founded. And then 2017, it was just hot and everyone was talking about it, trading crypto, and very little was focused on the real technology of itself and how blockchain can work, but that's when the race started. Uses of blockchain. As you can see, this is just a very, very small list of uses of blockchain, but they're generally broken up into four areas: smart contracts, digital currency, record keeping, and securities. So you see in the smart contracts, you see a lot of notaries. So you'll start seeing remote notaries, e-notaries starting to use blockchain, escrows, real estate transactions, trustees are starting to use this. You're going to also start seeing this in government as well. So it's going to start picking up. From the currency standpoint, it's already well ahead compared to other areas and compared to the other three major areas. So e-commerce, we see our cryptocurrency, we see global payments, anything to deal with money, and we see a lot of the blockchain work being done there. So in fintech. Health tech is a big area that is coming up because that's the third area where record keeping is very important. So we with the blockchain technology, we see a lot of areas, new health tech firms coming up, protecting PHI, the health information. We see HIPAA compliance and evolving now with because blockchain is now there. How do you protect it? How do you access it? And then we see, title records. So again, in the real estate industry, voting is something that is now a very, very hot topic. That is something that I'm not sure if we're going to see that completely or even at all in the elections that are coming up later this year. But it'll definitely be around, in the next couple of years or so. And that is something that I have seen quite a few number of companies focusing on and pushing through. In the United States, personally, I'm speaking to 3 companies and, seeing how it can be the trusted method, especially when, mail-in ballots can become an untrusted method of putting in your votes. And then finally, from a security standpoint, again, this is linked in the fintech space, but you can also see that there's a lot of things that are there. Banks are starting to use it, credit unions, the equities markets, the futures. You've started seeing NASDAQ, even the Dow Jones. They are looking at blockchain. They're looking at the way that it can be used, especially for trading. So there's a lot of use cases. As you can see, I've put down a list on the right. Those are areas that I feel that are the hot areas and are areas that we should be looking at if we are interested in this space. If we are already in this space, I hope you're in one of these. If there is another hot area that you feel that should be there, I'm happy to discuss those with you. But from my global travel, obviously pre-COVID time, and the extensive work that I do around the world, I'm seeing that these are some of the hot topics that are where blockchain is being used. Finally, I'll talk to you a little bit about ZorroSign, and I'll take a little bit of time here to really explain to you, and here is where you're going to get a little bit more on blockchain as well. But ZorroSign is basically a secure and encrypted digital business platform. And it has been devised or created to make that your easy step from moving from a paperful world to a paperless world. It is that platform that you would want to use to transact, to store, to secure, and trust. So, as I mentioned, ZorroSign was founded in 2015. We headquartered in San Francisco at that time, and we launched in 2017. ZorroSign was built ground up on the blockchain, so it took a little longer than expected. But this was something that we were very clear on, that we would address the problems of today. So this was back in 2013 when the idea was we came up with the idea. So just around the time when blockchain started to be talked about, and then and then we came up with the company and then pushed through. I'm going to, just before I go to the next slide about why, what does ZorroSign address, I wanted to share with you that ZorroSign does not focus on the crypto aspect of blockchain. And unfortunately, a lot of people consider blockchain to be the cryptocurrency only, or blockchain is Bitcoin and things like that. That's definitely not the case. If I had to put a number, and I'm taking a leap here, but I think only 10% of the blockchain use cases are in that crypto space. In my opinion, it is much, much more in the secure ledger space, and that's what ZorroSign does. It's securing data, documents, and in that aspect. So ZorroSign was basically created to address three issues. One was user privacy, second was data and document security, and the third one was verification and authentication. We started with the first two, and it has only been recently in late 2018 and 2019 when we focused on the third one. And I think you'll see why these are all important. So a lot of data is starting to get lost. People are losing trust in private and public companies. People are losing their faith in companies like the Equifax, OPM, others, where their privacy they're just a coin or a pawn in the entire game, and nothing matters to those companies when they're supposed to be held accountable and responsible. And that's why we love GDPR, we love CCPA, we love all these other legislations as well, because this is very, very important to protect the user's privacy. The second is data and document security. So when you see data breaches, Capital One and others where we had issues, these are, again, not very smart ways of keeping data, recording data, letting people have access to data. So this is something that we also focused on. WikiLeaks was an example of this. So we're really focusing on that data belonging to you and no one else having access to it. And then finally, the verification and authentication. This is one area that I love talking about, and I think this is an area that people are still not talking about enough. We're all very focused on in our day-to-day lives to log into to certain solutions, software, email clients, anything else with just a basic username and password. Username and password I think it's older than me. And I definitely feel that it is something that needs to evolve. Just by putting special characters or capital letters and numbers is just not good enough. And then we've seen the evolutions of that in two-factor authentication, like SMS, OTP. We're starting to see multi-factor authentication as well. However, this is something that needs a lot more work on, and companies are coming up with really cool ideas. ZorroSign went completely passwordless in November of last year. So we have some advanced ways of verifying and validating users. And we have the regular username and password because we know some of our customers would just not be comfortable in moving to complete passwordless. But we definitely see in the next couple of years that too becoming the standard and the norm. Why did we choose blockchain? We chose blockchain because of the principles of blockchain. Sorry, I skipped through. And those I believe are very, very critical in when you're securing, when you're when you're accessing, when you're encrypting data and documents, and when you're capturing information, in audit trail purpose or chain of custody format. It is very important, and blockchain is not something that's just the hype right now and it'll be replaced with something, in my belief. I believe it's just going to evolve over time, and the work that certain organizations have done. We run a private permissions-based blockchain on Hyperledger Fabric by the Linux Foundation. So if there are very well-reputed organizations around the world that have come up with certain standards that are used by certain governments or across the board globally. I believe these are the areas that we should be focusing on in technologies of the future. So some of the characteristics of ZorroSign on the Hyperledger Fabric, we're private and we're permissioned. So I'm sure many of you who are knowledgeable about blockchain will know that we can basically break it down into four: public and private, and permissioned or permissionless. So I've generalized it, but we're a private permissions based. So only if it is, the data is yours, it's not kept on public nodes or on public servers, and it's kept in a secure aspect on the cloud. We're on the AWS cloud. And it's permissioned because only if you have access to it or the rights to view it or see it, that's when you'll have access to it. We use smart contracts to manage our workflows. We also put everything on the blockchain, which includes the audit trail and the chain of custody. That's just not captured at a high level. And then, we're making sure that everything is not is within the block. So then it follows the four principles and kept in a secure and encrypted way. We've built our technology like a Lego block. So anything can be added on, removed. It can be modified, it can be devised or developed and added in. So we're very, very flexible. We like to see ourselves as an under the hood improvement of your organization, and not something that comes in and replaces technologies that you have already invested in. So we feel that it is a complementary product rather than a remove and replace. That also works well with organizations because then they also get to see the right ROI on investments that they've made in the past, especially in the fintech space, banking and credit unions, especially that we've seen. And the way we've built it, we evolved the technology, so you would never have to do a software update or have to pay for version 2.0 or 5.0, whatever it is. As long as ZorroSign evolves, you will always get it as long as you're a paid customer. Whoops, something's going on here. We've also been able to build out a mechanism to, query to get information as quickly and as deep as possible using that distributed ledger. And we also secure. So that was one area I talked about, that we focus on privacy and security. So we've used very, very secure mechanisms and methodologies there. ZorroSign has 5 components: a digital signature, ZorroSign forensics token, the workflow automation engine, DMS, and ZorroFill. I'll walk through these very quickly. A digital signature is much more secure version of an electronic signature. An electronic signature has been there for, it's over 20 years now. It's just an image of your signature. It's pasted on a PDF document. Legally, it's capturing the intent to sign, and not always upheld in courts. Digital signature actually uses a different methodology, PKI infrastructure, to secure that the signature. It's equivalent to a real, genuine wet ink signature in most countries. Again, it's based on the laws, but we're able to prove that it is that person. So there is that user authentication and verification methodology used there. Our patent pending ZorroSign forensics token is an equivalent of a digital wax seal. So when our forefathers used to send letters and sealed it with wax, we've digitized that and we've brought that up and patented it, where we've secured it. We use that as a security token, as a certificate that protects the document, the user, the audit trail, chain of custody, and the attachments with it. So basically, it is in an immutable state. It can be verified and validated. So our technology can even break down if a document that you've received in printed version or digital version, if it's been tampered with, if it's been revised, revoked, replaced, canceled, and others. We built out a workflow automation engine because using the blockchain, it has to be strictly rules-based rights, and it has to be strictly ordered. So we built that out and made it to help with as simple and as complex workflows that you can build. A document management system made natural sense in the evolution of the technology, where if you're putting everything in a secure and encrypted platform, be it on a web browser, through a web browser or through a mobile device, you should also have a place to save it and store it. So yes, we have linked with other technologies, other cloud-based drives, Google Drive, OneBox, Box, Dropbox, iCloud, and others, but we also have our own. And then ZorroFill was um, built with a personal pet peeve that I had, which was I can't read my own writing anymore because I just don't use a pen and paper. Um, I can't remember the last time I did. So every time I fill out a form, I just don't want to keep filling out and typing out the same information. So we basically found that this is also a pet peeve or an issue that many other people have, especially in the healthcare industry, when forms, not because of the reasons I gave for my own personal reasons, but it's because forms are not coming back filled completely, accurately, and it wastes a lot of time and money. So basically, we built out an e-form filling solution with AI and ML. So ZorroSign works really easy. It's 3 steps. Either you upload the document or you build it out, and then you send it off, and we do all that, making sure through the workflows that everything gets delivered. You can track it at any time, make sure that you see where it is. And then once we've seen that the entire workflow is completed, we seal it, and then you can verify and authenticate it at any time. It's any device, anywhere, and anytime. Industries that have used ZorroSign or currently use ZorroSign, they're listed here. These are not all of them, but these are some of the really hot industries right now that have been growing with ZorroSign since it went live in 2017. Departments that have used ZorroSign, again, these are based on customer feedback that we can share. Some of them we're not allowed to share information or data of those customers and or what they're using it with or for. And of course, we don't see that as well. So this is what our customers have shared with us. And then finally, examples of documents that have been sent via ZorroSign. This is just another list that we have. And I'm sure I will pass on this presentation also to the Global Chamber. So if you would like to see this at a later time as well. One of the last components and parts of my presentation today is ZorroSign's Paperless Life. So this is not our CSR project, but this is basically what we do as being part of a green technology. And our excitement here is that we've partnered with an organization. It's currently based in California, and it's called and they're One Tree Planted. So every 8,000 pages that are transacted through ZorroSign, we plant a tree on your behalf, and we've maintained it for life. So we've participated in the Million Tree Challenge twice during the California wildfires, the Billion Tree Challenge, that is a global challenge, and we'll continue to do this. And before I end and ask questions, Doug did allude to there's some news that ZorroSign would like to share. So ZorroSign is an organization that has 4 offices globally: Dubai, where I'm based, India, so the city of Mumbai, in Colombo, and that's in Sri Lanka, and we had our headquarters in San Francisco, California, and we have now officially moved our headquarters and planted our global headquarters in Phoenix. So that has happened over the last couple of weeks during the COVID times, and we will officially be launching that or announcing that very soon. So the Global Chamber is the lucky group to have heard that first and heard that from me. So I'm very happy to share that with all of you. So all of you that are based in Phoenix, I look forward to seeing you over the next month or so. Once I'm there and once we have announced, and it'll be great to catch up, introduce myself, and personally get to know you, and anyone else around the world. I'd be happy to meet you as well and connect with you. One parting thought for everyone that we at ZorroSign always leave with people listening to us is that, now that we're in the 21st century, are you 100% sure that your data and documents are secure? And I think that is a very, very deep question to ask, be it whatever role you hold in your organization. If you're sure about that, and if you're sure about your policies, the most of the times we get hit is when we're overconfident, and we lose critical data, we lose time, effort, money. And I'm not saying that we are the one and only solution out there, but I would love everyone listening here, and and when you are speaking to the business communities abroad as well, around the world, really asking those questions, that when you're using technology, are you really using technology that is working for you and is responsible and accountable to you? I'll stop there. Thank you very much for your time. And Doug, over back to you for questions.
Thank you, Shams. Really interesting, great background. Really appreciate it. We do have some questions, and so, as all of you watching, feel free to ask a question in the Q&A area, or send it to info@globalchamber.org, and we'll queue it up for Shams. So a couple of the questions mirror actually a couple of things I wanted to ask as well. So let's start there. Let's start with Maimun in Bangladesh. He's asked, let's see, I think I lost it for a second. Oh, here he is. Okay, so how does passwordless work in blockchain? How feasible is blockchain technologies for current non-broadband internet speeds? And so two different questions, but the first one was the one that I was wondering as well. How does that work, passwordless?
Yes, so that's a great question. So so passwordless, we use that from an authentication space to prove that it is you. So when we have the digital signature and we're using the PKI infrastructure, that's the public key and private key, we basically are using multi-factor authentication, which is on your smart devices. So I'm an Apple user, so I know it as Touch ID and Face ID. But then what we do there is that we also have your private key stored on your device. So if it's on your iPhone or iPad, and it's stored in the secure chip within the device, so that's also not, it's not able to be read by Apple or anyone else. So it's all secured there. And that's then how we authenticate you with our system. And if that system, if our system agrees to your private key, and if it accepts that into the key and lock mechanism, then we know that it is you. So basically that's how we go passwordless. The second, I've made it very high level, by the way. I'm happy to share any if required, white papers as well from a security standpoint. And for the broadband speeds, I was in Tajikistan in August of last year, speaking on behalf, at the request of the EU, and they were running 2G, and I was still signing my documents running on 2G. So we've run it backwards. So I am very confident in saying that it will run wherever you are, and I'm assuming you're in Bangladesh based on what Doug mentioned.
Yep. So that's a good answer for someone in Bangladesh. So congratulations. That's good. How fast do you expect the passwordless technology to advance? Is it 5 years or 10 years or 2 years when basically this will become normal practice?
I would like to put my neck out on the line and say 2 years. I think this is definitely something that's coming up. I see traces of that. Again, I am very Apple biased. Please don't hate me for that. But I've already see that in steps in iOS 14, which should be coming out later this year as well. A lot of new ideas and thoughts that are coming up, and everyone has their own concept to it, but I definitely see that trend being picked up.
Okay, no problem being Apple biased. I am as well. So I'm looking forward to understanding more about that and incorporating that into some of the next versions. That's awesome. Another question from Don, and the question is, could blockchain be utilized to add a higher level of security and integrity in voting by mail? So you did bring up voting as an application, and wow, that would change the game, wouldn't it? We potentially would be able to vote and then see our vote, have visibility of it, so that whether it's voting by mail or voting by ballot that might be by hacked in, it brings a level of security into the whole process. So what do you think about Don's question?
I think the easier we make it, the faster we digitize it, there are going to be less complaints. There are going to be less ways of trying to fool the system. I personally, ZorroSign, this is one area that ZorroSign is excited about, is working on a few things to evolve its technology, so it could be part of a group of technologies or a wider set of technologies that could be implemented as an e-voting solution. And I would beg to differ to make it just completely digital. ZorroSign already has a few components of it that would definitely work together. We are talking to a couple of players in the market that are already quite established, not in the United States, but in Europe, that where e-voting is already taking place. And we're trying to see how that can be brought in the EU as well as potentially in the States as quick as possible. There are also a couple of American known solutions out there. We're also speaking to them to see if there's anything exciting that we could work together with.
Okay, what would your involvement be in something like that?
So for ZorroSign, it would basically be providing part of the modular technology. All right, so bringing in our bits to that overall technology. We would never shift ourselves to become an e-voting platform or e-voting software, but we would always want to participate with some of our technologies under there. So we have APIs available where we could push that through and allow our technology to be part of a broader e-voting platform.
Are there countries that you're aware of that are, you mentioned, some of them are already working maybe even further along. What are the countries that have that kind of mentality? And maybe more broadly, are there certain countries that are just moving ahead more with blockchain technology?
So if you look at just during the COVID times, the United Kingdom, when they were voting for certain bills, they digitized it all, while I think we were still struggling with the House and Senate people coming into Washington, D.C. to give their votes on certain bills. So, the United Kingdom is there. We've seen e-voting in Germany, in Belgium, and these are some other interesting areas. EU is a little bit ahead in this aspect. So.
Okay. Are you confident that that can be done securely?
Yes, it can be, and it is currently being done. There's going to be a lot more work to it, but yes, and I think that's why I feel that maybe this year is too early, but at least I think if we give ourselves another 2-3 years, by the time the next elections come around, and I'm being very specific for the U.S., in 4 years, I think we should be good by then.
Okay. Does that mean in practical terms that just kind of get from your iPhone, you'd be able to vote rather than go through all the rigmarole of being in person or filling in a paper ballot?
Yeah. Can you imagine you being pre-enrolled, both for state, county, state, and, federally, you don't have to do anything. Your digital ID is already there. You basically just vote when you're asked to vote, and in your own comfort and security of your own homes. No waiting in lines and no anything else. So yeah, it's interesting. And I have given some testimony as well, both written and in person, to the House Elections Committee, the House Energy and Commerce Committee, to certain congressmen, governors as well. So in DC, so that is also, it's being talked about.
Okay. A lot of politics involved in that, I'm sure, but very, very fascinating.
I just share my knowledge. I don't get into anything else.
Yeah, same with us. Another question, a different topic from Jolynn. We have a use case in risk management and human resources. Question, have you seen any smart contract applications in these areas?
Sorry. We have a use case in risk management and human resources. I don't know what the use case is specifically, but our technology is used in HR. I also don't know. I'm assuming that we're talking about this use case would be used in the U.S. So the laws would be able to be enforced using our smart contracts, powered through our workflows. But I would love to speak privately about that. I'm happy to even get someone connected to Jolynn to address that specific use case.
Okay. Jolynn, if you want to send an email to info@globalchamber.org, we're happy to connect you in. Another question, this one from Mark, based in North Carolina. Could you please review flexibility of rules-based workflow to fit a specific business process?
Our workflow engine is very, very, it's very fluid. Fluid meaning that we're very flexible. So we, whatever the rules is, whatever your manual or semi-manual based processes you may have today, we're able to completely digitize that. So for example, and functions or functions, sending documents to departments, if you need a manager, to further sign, you're off on vacation, to get somebody else, a proxy to sign, if it needs to be sent back, if it needs to be revised, revoked, canceled, our workflows work that way. We're able to send not only, we have several templates that you could create, document specific, user specific, dynamic templates, bulk set templates. That was one requested by some of our customers, where they wanted to send some of our customers in the education space. They were the ones, I can even remember specifically the first customer that asked for this. They said they needed sexual harassment training for all their teachers, and they didn't want to send out 300 of the same forms 300 times. So they said, can you help us with a feature that we send it out once and it goes to all of them. And and so our flexibility is there, and we're bringing in some new features later this month as well. So I'm sure if you're going to be following us, you'll be excited to see those as well in the workflows.
It's ZorroSign.com. And a little bit off the blockchain topic, but more involved with specifically ZorroSign. This is a question from a fellow you and I were chatting about earlier, Shams, Mark Pierce of Lee & Associates, who's a top commercial real estate firm in the United States and also based in Arizona. What were the deciding factors on moving your headquarters to the Phoenix, Scottsdale area?
Hi, Mark. Thanks for the question. To be completely honest with you, I really love the people that I have interacted with in Arizona, specifically in the Phoenix, Scottsdale area. I have found that anyone and everyone who I've spoken to, it's a close, tight-knit community. So I know most people know about each other or know each other or at least heard of each other. But I really, really felt that this is a very open, accepting, warm community. And, just considering even moving from San Francisco, there was no trying hard selling, but it was just more of, really showing why Phoenix was the right choice. And I fell in love with the place by only visiting it twice. Obviously, the support that the city, the city of Phoenix, GPEC, as well as ASU, GCU, and others have given us, and as Global Chamber included, everybody has just been very, very warm and welcoming.
It's a warm community in more ways than one.
Yes, I know that.
Yeah, it's interesting because aren't you originally from Canada? Or, I mean, you've spent a lot of time in Canada, and I saw in your background you spent time in Cornell, which is nearby my hometown, which is not a warm place, very green and kind of damp and place. How are you adjusting to the weather? Because it's certainly a lot different.
So I was born in California, but I've lived all over the world. So a true global citizen: Hong Kong, Singapore, Toronto, Vancouver, Dubai, Houston, and soon to be Phoenix in a couple of weeks. Weather doesn't really matter. I think it's where you're comfortable, where home is, where the family is. That's what makes it.
That's fair. And what about the technology infrastructure? Do you guys rely on staying connected to either global or regional organizations to be able to stay up to speed and be part from a professional standpoint?
Yes, definitely. And that is something that I think now internet is a given. We are always connected. ZorroSign, is up 99.99% of the time. It's required very, very rarely. It will be we will be doing major updates where people may not have access to the solution, but even if that happens, it's no more than 10 minutes. But yes, we are a globally connected company as well as people. So we definitely have to be connected with everyone.
Got it. Another question from an anonymous attendee. Choose to be anonymous. That's fine. And this is kind of goes to the heart of a couple of the questions that we have as well. Why would a company decide to go with ZorroSign versus a larger player like DocuSign? What's the difference, key differences and advantages? And could you talk a little bit about implementation? And then does your company provide support and training to implement?
Sure. We definitely provide support and training. Every new member, be it the free account that you can sign up, it's a free for life account, or you become a paid account, you do get 2 hours free training. And for global chamber members, there is going to be an offer that comes out sorry, from ZorroSign for them. Ultimately, DocuSign's name is, it's very easy to bring up, and, because they are definitely the largest and the first to get into this space. I believe every company has their core focus. DocuSign initially started off to kill the fax machine, which they did amazingly well. And then they evolved over time, and they are where they are today, a publicly listed company. From all the competitive set that we have, the only company that got there directly. I'm not talking about indirect acquisitions, and then those companies can now claim to be publicly listed. But like I said, everyone's focus is something, is in a different vertical. It's in some specific niche. Our niche is the security and the privacy aspect. If I tell customers this, and I'm not worried about, I'm not worried about saying this, is if you're interested in just getting the work done quick, easy, simple, then we may not be the solution that you want to go to. We emulate, we do certain things in a certain way. Why? Because we look after your safety and your security. We encrypt it. We make the privacy levels, to a level that it is inaccessible. It is we focus on that, and that is something. And for us, that is in our DNA. And you must have seen it in my first slide. The bottom line was, because trust is everything. We eat, breathe, sleep, live for our customers' trust in us, and that is something that we take it very, very seriously. And so the biggest reason I would give you is, if you want to make sure that your documents and data is always kept at the highest levels, you should be coming to us, or considering us at least. Apart from that, we have, we've put everything on the blockchain. There are going to be other customers, competitors, DocuSign included, that are going to roll out smart contracts, are going to roll out other aspects of it. But they are still very, very different solutions. They are patching blockchain into a beast of a technology that they have. Ours is built ground up. So the way that our technology can evolve, at the speed it can evolve, at the pricing that we can charge, at the different aspects of our technology, we're able to do a lot more for a lot less. And so if pricing or value is something else that is is one of the key components, then ZorroSign again would be a choice, a first choice preference.
I see. That makes a lot of sense. I personally can attest to the service aspect, because I signed up the other day for Global Chamber, and I immediately became friends with a fellow named Bob, who's in your support group. And he's been, I think we're going to be sending Christmas presents to each other. He's been very warm, speaking about warm, and very helpful. And I've got the training coming up. So it's clear that, you've got that in your heart. And in your head, in terms of how you operate, and that's extended down into your organization from all the interactions that I've already had. So thank you for doing that. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
And actually, Mark Pierce of Lee and Associates mentioned to me also that they've been very impressed. They're also planning to incorporate this in their systems in 60 different offices. So congratulations on that, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Another question from a fellow you might know, Bashir. Believe you had provided some testimony in the Senate. You mentioned about providing testimony in the Senate about election security. Could you shed more light on that?
So I saw his question popping up when I was talking about e-voting. That's why I mentioned the other ones. But yes, I've been very fortunate to be called upon and asked to share testimony as a subject matter expert in blockchain security and privacy to several congressmen, congresswomen, as I mentioned, even some governors, and more specifically, the House Elections Committee, House Energy and Commerce Committee, and others. So I since October, I have been asked to fly in 3 times. And I will continue to do that as and when I'm asked to do so.
For the businesses that you interact with and that you're aware of, what's the best way to start? How does a company start? And then it sounds like once someone gets comfortable with the initial implementation, that there are other ways that they can use to improve the security within their business.
Anyone who is wanting to use ZorroSign or implement it within their own organization, my best advice would be to start small. Start with one department, one document, and let it grow from there. If we have seen this in the past, we have very enthusiastic CTOs, CISOs, and other CEOs as well, where they say, I want my whole organization to immediately start using ZorroSign from end to end. And what happens is that it stresses out the system. Then there's pushback, there's confusion, and not everyone has. Some people are doing it by choice. Some people are being voluntold to do it, and things like that. So I highly recommend that it starts small in one department with one document. So if it's the legal department, if it's the finance department, if it's HR, these are 3 big areas that we see when organizations start using ZorroSign, that they start with one process there.
Got it. That makes sense. And then get comfortable with that and move on from there. You mentioned about Bitcoin in one of your slides. I think, if I understand it correctly, blockchain is somewhat of an engine for Bitcoin. It's not equivalent, right? And then you pointed that out. Do you have an opinion about Bitcoin and the currency markets and how people should be thinking about those, and how fast do you think that'll be implemented going forward?
This is my personal opinion, not linked to ZorroSign at all. I feel that it is the currency that we will be using in the future. However, I feel it came out a little too early. We started running before we started crawling, walking, and jogging. Removing fiat money overnight or trying to do that I think it was too ambitious. And it started being used in the wrong ways. And that may happen regardless. But if transacting anonymously, not having a KYC, a know your customer, not knowing where it came from, that's not what the world is asking for today. And we really need to find a way to make sure that we know where those source of funds are coming from. Were they legitimately used? Were they, even are they being legitimately transacted, and not being and creating a technology that would be able to hide all of that. I'm not saying that that's what they did, but very quickly it became something that it was used by the wrong people for the wrong reasons.
Got it. Are there people that are working on a more transparent solution on the currency side?
I definitely feel so. I think I've met a few people. There is also a cryptocurrency company based out of Phoenix that I met a little while back as well. They were doing something exciting. I definitely feel that there is space for that. And I also feel by that time, when things get accepted by the market, tested by the market, the banks, the governments, everyone has to start accepting it and being part of it. I think trying to replace someone and take away, the role of the bank, which has been there for hundreds of years, and just replace them with an app on your mobile device, obviously is not going to sit well with everyone. So it's just an evolution.
Sure. Where do you see the blockchain hubs around the world? Where is most of the activity happening? And then how do you tap into it? And then how should a normal person, a normal business person, tap into keeping up to date on what's happening?
Some of the hubs in the US, obviously California is there. Phoenix is definitely, I feel that it is the blockchain hub in the US. You see blockchain action in Washington. In Europe, there are spaces there. You see Asia has, China kicking in. India is also becoming a big hub. So you're starting to see these core areas. In my opinion, if you're going to get into this space or hire in this space, I personally have always been of the opinion that hire within and keep that with you, because this is especially, this is the IP that you want to protect, and not, and with the blockchain space, there's so much you can do with blockchain and AI, blockchain and ML, blockchain with deep learning, and to protect that IP is very critical, and especially from even protecting the data. So if you're looking for it, I personally always hire within or hire to build out my team. That's why ZorroSign plans to have a few hundred people over the next 5 years or so in Phoenix, or at least working through the global headquarters that is going to be in Phoenix. So that's my thought on that.
Great, appreciate that. We just have a couple minutes left, and what I would suggest, maybe could you just kind of wrap up and reemphasize key points that you've talked about, or if there's anything else you'd like to mention, feel free to go ahead.
Sure. So thank you very much, everyone, for your time and for the questions. I love these questions. Looking forward to meeting everyone, like I mentioned, who is in Arizona, so the Phoenix, Scottsdale area, and anywhere around there in the near future. Please keep an eye out on our new features that we'll be rolling out at the end of the month. I'm sure you'll be excited to see that. And again, another step forward in ZorroSign's history. You can always connect with me on LinkedIn, both for personal, discussions on blockchain. I love to have a coffee or a Zoom call over that anytime, based on our schedules. Or you can connect with me to talk about ZorroSign. You can visit us on our website, ZorroSign.com. And once again, thank you to the Global Chamber and especially Doug for giving me this opportunity.
Oh, thank you. This has been great background information, and also very specific information about different applications. Clearly, any business should be thinking about this. Shams, you even suggested maybe even if you're a certain company size, having someone who's dedicated to this. And so that's a big step that wouldn't even been thought of 5 years ago. And so things are changing fast, and the markets and the dynamics of markets right now, particularly around security, blockchain is ideal to solve a lot of the problems that we're having. I'm really excited about the voting application. That's given me some hope that maybe in 2 years or 4 years that we'll have a lot more clarity and transparency around that process as well. In the meantime, we'll be able to utilize these technologies in our businesses. So please check out ZorroSign.com. Do as Shams suggested regarding checking out his background, and stay with Global Chamber to be connected to amazing people like Shams, new opportunities, new technologies, and things to grow and make your business more secure. Thanks everybody for watching. We have 4 to 8 events a week, so stay in touch with Global Chamber through a newsletter, through our online portal, and check out things that are coming up. We're constantly putting information out there to help you grow your business, not just in your own community, but across metros and across borders. Be global and unstoppable, and have a great rest of your day. Take care, everybody. Thank you, Shams.
Thank you. Stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you. See you soon.